Welcome students, this is a short review over the midterm. Let's get right to it. Okay, I may have showed this to you before, but this is an indication of the grades, and of course you have the histogram right down here. Another thing that we need to take a look at is the breakdown of how the questions worked out for you as a group on the midterm. So here you go. Several of these you've done very well, especially this last bit right here. It does seem there's a few problems we need to look at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the lowest number here and just work my way upward for a few problems here. About, I don't know, about maybe five or six problems. All right, let's get to it. All right, this question. Let f of x be, and there's my function right here. It wants to know the horizontal asymptote. Okay, what is the horizontal asymptote? Well, if we notice here that the highest power is 2 here and the highest power is 2 there, just rewrite it with just the leading term of the top and the bottom, the leading term. And see what happens is you could divide them out and you have -4/5, that's -0.8. So the equation of the horizontal asymptote is y is equal to -0.8. There you go. All right, next question. Let f of x be this rational function. There are two numbers that are not in the domain. Give the larger value to 2 decimal places. Good question. All right, not in the domain. Remember, you can't have 0 at the bottom on a rational expression. So we're going to take the bottom here, right? We're going to take the bottom, and we're going to set it equal to 0. Now the question is, hey, that's a parabola, and it probably crosses a couple places here. It wants to know, give the larger value, so the one that's further to the right on the x-axis. Well, it'll be nice to know what they are, right? Now we could do this by completing the square. How about we use a quadratic formula? Little review, right? That never hurt anybody. You could do it. Okay, so x is equal to -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4a times c. That's how I do it. A times c, that's -4. All over 2a, which is 2. All right, now let's clean it up a little bit. 1 plus or minus radical, what's that? 17/2. Now, if we can just think a little bit ahead, we realize we have 1 plus radical 17, 1 minus radical 17, obviously 1 plus radical 17/2. That's the larger of the two values. Okay, so I typed that in my calculator. 1 plus radical 17/2, 2.56. Okay, so if we look back over there, right, 2.56. All right, next question. All right, if f of x is this rational expression, find the inverse if possible. Okay, now remember the steps. Change to y, switch the x into y, solve for the new y, change that y to inverse f of x. Okay, well, let's see. So we're going to write it as y. Y is equal to 2x minus 1 over x plus 2. Switch the x into y. You may remember I did this problem on another, that's a minus, right? Minus y plus 2. Okay, I would just do this and cross multiply. So what's 2y minus 1 times 1? Well, that's just 2y minus 1. And x times this is xy plus 2x. All right, I would get all your y terms on one side and your numbers on the other side. Okay, if I moved the xy to the left side, I'd have 2y minus xy. And if I moved the 1 to the right, I'd have 2x plus 1. That make sense? All right, remember to solve for y, you have to factor 2 minus x. And so y is equal to 2x plus 1 over 2 minus x. Now, I'm looking up there and I don't see those answers. So we're going to have to manipulate the answer somehow. And you may remember from your previous work, you could switch that and factor out a -1. So 2x plus 1 over x minus 2. Move that out of the way. Okay. So is that an answer choice? Yes, it's that answer choice down there, right here. Okay, so hopefully that explained that to you. All right, now here's a question. Find the function that's finally graphed after the following transformations are applied to the graph of blah. Okay, so we're going to take the basic, we're going to take this basic v function, the absolute value function. Okay, we're going to do the following to it. Now, before we say anything, we're going to just put my little form here to help us. All right, number 1, the graph is shifted left 3 units. That affects this. So now I'm going to have x plus 3. Okay, it's stretched by a factor of 2. That goes out here. And shifted vertically down. That's a -2. And finally, reflected over the x-axis. Remember, reflected over the x-axis puts a minus in the front. When I say a minus in the front, I mean the minus in the front of everybody. So I could have that answer choice, or I could have this answer choice. Okay. All right, so notice the correct answer up here is the first one. See the bracket right here? Okay. All right, so just remember that, okay? It's very important. All right, here's a question. Let f of x be blah. Find the average rate of change from -3 to 4. Okay, this could be talking about your grade in this class, right? Because it goes up and down. Okay, let's make a chart, x and y. There's my x's. There's my y. Now, I got to follow the formula. It's blah squared plus 3 times blah. Blah squared plus 3 times blah. Well, in the first case, it's -3, right? So what's that going to be? That's 9. -9, that's 0. And then over here, it's going to be 4. We're going to put a 4 in there. So what's that going to be? 16 plus 12, which is 28. Okay, remember, average rate of change, it's the difference of the y's over the difference of the x's. 28 over 7 or 4. Okay, there's my answer right there. All right. Here's a question about circles. Find the radius of the circle by first putting the equation in standard form. I like to just rewrite the equation. Kind of helps doing the problem correctly. All right, so, the question, very simple question. Okay, what do I need to do? I need to complete the square by taking half of the 10 and squaring it. Okay, I just added 25 to the left side, so I better add it to the right side. Let's do the y. Half of the 8 squared is 16. Okay, now I'm going to factor this as a binomial squared. And I'm going to factor this, y plus 4, right? Squared. Now, I got to put all of this together. 23, well, this looks like 41, okay? 41 and 23 is 64. Okay, now remember, this is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Find the radius. So r squared is equal to 64. R must be 8. Can't be negative 8. You can't have a negative radius. And there's your answer right there. Hope that helps you out. I hope this video over the midterm helped you. Math is something that it does take effort, but there are places along the way that you get things, okay? So try to sort of, emphasize what you do know and try not to get too discouraged by what you don't know. I'd avoid putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on yourself. I would direct your energy into those things that work and that help you. This is why I've made a big point about asking what works for you so you could learn from each other. That's part of doing well in math, and I hope that in some small way that helped you out in this class. So I hope you enjoyed the midterm review of the major problems that were missed.